Hello, scrappers, recyclers, and investors interested in the world kind of surrounding scrap and recycling and the stuff that we do. Welcome to Shark Scrapper Live. It is great to be with you today. We've got a lot planned for today. I'm really looking forward to the discussion. So come on, let's dive right in. I hope everybody had a great week, man. It has been chilly around here. For Florida, anyway, it's been chilly. We were down below freezing, so we call that a hard freeze here in Florida. You got to cover the plants and those kind of things. Now, I know that's nothing compared to what a lot of my friends up north have been dealing with, but yeah, it was chilly here. So I'm just curious, go ahead, drop some comments. How cold has it been for you all where you're at for the last couple weeks? Now, Andrew Powell, he's down in New Zealand, right? So he's having summer. So it's pretty warm down there at 33 C. But I have a feeling that some other folks here have got some pretty chilly temperatures going on. So anyway, Bush Dog, Andrew, JR Cat, Scrapping Irish, E-Waste Mike, Electronic Scrapper, welcome everybody. It is great to have you here. Scrapping Irish says it was -6 in Ireland. Irish, is that cold for Ireland? Do you all get really, really chilly there during the winter, or is that kind of what you would expect? Show. All right. Like I said, we have a lot going on, so we got to get right into it here. We're going to dive right in with, we're going to dive right in as soon as I do this thing that I have to do here and then do that. And now we can go right into silver. Wow, what's going on with silver? Here we are. We're on the 24-hour chart, and we see that silver is down 0.26%. at 22.81. And if we look at it for the 3-day, well, we're still down 0.5%. We kind of had a little plateau up here, and then it dropped off and just didn't really pick up after that. Here's the week. We're down 2.4% for the week. Man, this is not looking good for silver. I mean, you know, if you're in the holy cow, look at that. For the month, we're down almost 7%. And for the quarter, we're up 6%. But, man, we're pressing. That 6% is really not a whole lot. And you can see that the silver was climbing up for a while, and now it's dropping off. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. For the year, silver is down 5%. I tell you, when I was looking at this, I started doing some digging into what's going on with silver. And I found a number of really interesting articles and discussions. And the general consensus is that we're going to see silver pick up in 2024. So there's some folks out there that are saying that sometime in the first 6 months of 2024, they're looking for silver to get to $28 an ounce. And then by the end of the year, $30 an ounce. I know that doesn't sound like that's huge, but you know, if you look at where we're at right now, that's not bad. And what they're talking about, the issue that's going on with silver is that it's just you know, it's kind of, it had some highs, but it's fallen off. Mining is down 2%, but yet demand seems to keep increasing. So, you know, why do you see the prices not picking up? But this is why the silver people out there kind of have a feeling that it's going to pick up in 2004, because the industrial demand and investor demand is going to start picking up. Jewelry and silverware are kind of falling off, but industrial and investment demand should start picking up. And the supply side is not going to be able to keep up. Mining being down about 2%, and recycling, they're only expecting recycling to grow by 1%. So that's not a whole lot. And recycling only accounts for about 15% of the silver supply anyway. So the one group out there, the Oxford Economics, they're predicting that the demand for silver is going to grow by 42% between now and 2033, but the supply is decreasing. So, this is good. This should be good for us as scrappers and recyclers to see that silver demand come up, especially because one of the things that has potential to be a good source of silver in the recycling business are solar panels. So as solar panels begin to age out and recycling capabilities get improved, we should be able to start pulling the silver out of these photovoltaic cells that are in the solar panels. So maybe that'll actually help to increase the recycled content of silver in the market. So what would we say about silver here? I'm calling silver buy territory. For me, anything in the low 20s is a buy territory for silver. So, if I was not going to be moving this year, I would be buying some physical silver right now. I'd be on the AppMix site here, and I'd be looking at some silver rounds or some silver bars, something in the, either 1 ounce rounds or 5 ounce or 10 ounce bars. That's generally speaking the way I was buying my physical silver when I was buying it. Right now, I'm just holding on here because I'm trying to build up a cash position to support my move. So I'm not going to be buying any silver right now. Although I tell you what, if it drops down into the teens, I may have to reconsider that, because that would be great buying territory if it gets down below 20. So what are you all doing? Are you buying some silver right now? And if you are, what kind of silver are you buying? I know Electronic Scrapper, he likes to recycle, get the silver through recycling. So I'm curious if he's been doing any processing and pulling silver, and what the numbers look like. Recycling silver is really dicey, because sometimes the acids and stuff that you have to use can cost more than the silver you're going to get out of it. So you got to be careful with that. Let's see. So what kind of comments have come in here on temperature and on silver? Let's see. We had JR Cat at -10 with 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. Yowza, that's cold. Scrapping Irish confirmed that temperature for him was cold. -6 was cold for Ireland. All righty. Daniel Winger is at -6 in Indiana. Not wind aided, just cold. All right. So Bush Dog was giving us Canadian dollar value on silver here, so that's cool. Sandra, welcome. Sandra Baker, welcome from Norfolk. Gerald Ford came in this week. That's awesome. Man, I tell you what, I did a tour on the USS John F. Kennedy, and an aircraft carrier is just an amazing thing to be on. Just amazing. I did most of my Navy career on small ships, frigates, cruisers, but I did one tour on an aircraft carrier that was just amazing. Bush Dog says -11C in Alberta. Wow, yeah, cold. And let's see. So what's JR Cat doing? It says just some junk. So I think that means he's buying some junk silver. Yeah. So y'all know I'm not I haven't gotten big into junk silver, but I've had a couple of people that have sent me some trying to get me into junk silver. So Bush Dog says he's been buying. I've been buying an ounce of silver whenever I do a scrap run, plus I save all my silver scrap. Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Let's see. Irish says he's having a storm right now, and the winds are 115. I'm assuming that means kilometers per hour. Wow, man, hang on, batten down the hatches, dude. Jeez. Hey, Scrapping on the Fly, welcome. Great to have you here. Don't scrap with Texas. Great. Nice to meet you, man. The name doesn't ring a bell. It's great to have you here. So he's saying or she is saying, I stockpile silver plated items. I'll do something with them when the prices go up. Okay, very cool. Very cool. JR Cat says he loves the Morgan dollars. Yep. I hear you, man. I know. They're kind of cool. They're kind of cool. Yeah, somebody sent me a Morgan silver dollar. Oh man. All right. Well, yeah, it's silver is one of those challenging ones because it's nicer to be operating in a precious metal that you can afford, unlike gold, which is really expensive. But if it doesn't start climbing out, people get, why be a part of it? So, but we're looking for a climb for silver in the future. I see no reason to argue with these people that are saying that 2024 should see silver prices turn around. So, if you're in the business, if you're looking to, and do some investing with silver, then I'd say this is good buying territory, especially if we're looking for it to climb up to the 28 to 30. So. All right. So scrapping on the fly says, I cook silver without a respirator. Does that count? I'm not exactly sure where you're going with that. Excuse me. But I'd be careful, I'd just be careful with that because, if you're referring to recovering silver, recycling kind of recovering silver without a respirator, that could be a little bit dangerous given some of the gases that are put off. So yeah, I'd get yourself a respirator, man. All righty. Now, let's get on to things here. The next up is our safety note for the day. And this is kind of appropriate regardless of what season you're in. So even our friends down on the other side of the earth that are dealing with the heat, this safety note is important, and it's hydration. Hydration is just as important, perhaps even more important in the winter as it is in the summer. We all think about staying hydrated when it's hot and we're sweating and, we need to stay hydrated. But we can very quickly forget to hydrate when it's cold outside. We don't think about the fact that we just don't feel that urge to drink when it's cold outside. So we tend not to drink. And sometimes you actually have to force yourself to remember to drink. And making it even somewhat more challenging is when it's cold outside, what are the things that you are usually drinking? Coffee, tea, and those have caffeine, and that caffeine can cause more dehydration. So when it's cold, make sure that you are still drinking your water. Get your hydration in. I'm going to say this for some of you, beer and whiskey is not hydrating. All right. So, make sure you're drinking your water, especially when it's cold, because dehydration can be just as dangerous in the cold as it can in the heat. All right. Well, our industrial metal today is aluminum. And let's pop over here to electronic scrapper. Oh man, you're killing me, man. Oh yeah, hot chocolate for the win, man. Hot chocolate. I gotta, you know what? I have some Irish hot chocolate, so I may have to whip up a batch of that later on tonight. That would be very, very cool, or warm, or just tasty. Vittorio, welcome. Great to have you here. Okay, so aluminum. What's going on with aluminum? Here we're looking at 1 year, and let's go ahead up here and get our Candlesticks, we've started looking at this with candlesticks now, so that makes it a little more interesting. And we're going to zoom in here to see the short-term business going on. So we're going back to, a little bit before October. We saw that aluminum had a little bit of a climb, dropped off, climbed, dropped off. As we go back in the year looking at aluminum, we can see we've got just a lot of volatility. Look at all those ups and downs going on with aluminum. There's just so much volatility going on with the aluminum market right now. And can you imagine the challenges that this kind of volatility gives to the scrap yards? Is they're trying to figure out, by the way, these are dollars for tons. But can you figure out, just imagine the challenges at some of these scrap yards trying to figure out what they can make for what they should pay for the silver, because they have to decide what they're going to make when they sell the silver. And for a lot of scrap yards, that could be a month after they ship off that container before they get paid for it. So they've got some real challenges there on what they're doing for aluminum. And when you see these prices going up and down and up and down, here's what that says to me as a scrapper. There's no real reason to hang on to aluminum, trying to time the market. You're not going to, unless you're just going to let it sit for years and years and years, you're not going to be able to time out the aluminum market. I use aluminum as a cash flow product for my business. So what I mean by that is I try to get some kind of aluminum in every week, whether it's cast or sheet or extruded. I get a lot of extruded because my yard pays me extruded aluminum price for the heat sinks that I get out of the PCs that I'm scrapping. So I get a lot of aluminum, extruded aluminum through that process. And I just keep it moving. It's cash flow for me. It's not a strategic metal that I'm going to be able to someday make a good chunk on the way I hold back a reserve of copper. With aluminum, I'm just cycling it through. The only aluminum that I am hanging on to is some of the aluminum wire that comes out of insulated aluminum wire. And I'm hanging on to that because I may use that after I get relocated in some casting and molding projects, which is something that I want to start introducing to the Shark Scrapper channel after I get relocated. So I'm hanging on to the aluminum because that's a really good metal to get started with in melting, casting, and such. And the aluminum wire is a good, clean aluminum product to use for that. But I'm not hanging on to that as an investment. It's just to have product for my casting and such. So let's see. When we look at aluminum for the 5-year run, we can see again, there's a bunch of volatility baked into this 5 years. We can see that aluminum peaked out here in 22, had a real steep drop, tried to pull up, but then has been falling off again. So again, I just don't see this as the kind of metal that you're going to stash away and hang on to for years and years, hoping that you're somehow going to make a killing on it. I mean, even in the 10-year, you look back here 10 years ago, you really haven't gained a whole lot over the 10 years. And 10 years would be a long, long time to hang on to a stack of aluminum. So aluminum is not one of those things that I'm going to hang on to. I just keep it moving. What do you do with your aluminum? Do you keep it moving? Is it cash flow for you, or do you have some other plans for your aluminum moving forward? Let's see. Sandra, I have not looked at stainless steel recently, but I will. I'll make a note to take a look at it. I don't get terribly excited by stainless steel. I've never had I mean, it's never been a real huge money maker. But I'll take a look at stainless steel, and we'll see. Maybe we can talk about it next week. Let's see. Vittorio, I hope I'm saying that right. Scrapping Irish, I'm in a digestive phase, and I'm watching some scrapping videos. Okay, all right, very cool. Electronic scrapper saying that he only holds on to cast aluminum for melting into bricks. Okay. And I was Scorpio. I was checking prices last night and was blown out of the chair. The aluminum price almost 3 times the norm. What's going on? Well, I don't know why you would be seeing 3 times the price, because when we're looking here, we see that aluminum was dropping. So I don't know, Scorpion Metals, what might be going on at your yard? I'm assuming you're talking about your yard. So I'm not quite sure what might be going on at your yard that they're offering 3 times the value when it's down like this, especially given that it's down for, the year here. Yeah, can't explain that one, man. No idea. I don't know. Maybe they're banking on aluminum climbing back out again at some point, and they just want to stock up. Or, it could also be sometimes a scrapyard has contracts that they have to meet, and they have said, look, we will sell this mill. We will sell you a certain amount of aluminum every year, okay, or every week or every month or whatever. And then if they're short of inventory, they still have to meet their commitments, or they can, get hit with some fines. And so sometimes that means they got to jack up the price to get the metal coming in so that they can meet their commitments, their contractual commitments to sell. So it could be that the yard, that your yard is trying to meet some of those commitments. Other than that, I can't. I'm not quite sure what might be going on with aluminum. So let's see. It was showing over $1 last night. Well, let's see. We're right now we're at 21.76 a ton, right? So 21.76 a ton is $1.08 a pound. You're saying that the norm is 44 cents, but if we look at the 5-year, and this is in tons, so 44 cents a pound would be 800. It hasn't been 44 cents a pound for a long time here. So I'm not exactly sure where you're calling the 44 cent norm from there, Scorpion Metals. But maybe we can talk offline and help clarify what you're referring to there. Unless you're referring to the scrap prices, that would be different in scrap prices than spot prices. And the scrap prices, as I was talking about, can vary a lot by location, and demand. So Daniel's saying he's got 4 tubs dedicated cast, 4 tubs for extruded. When they're all full, he takes them in. Okay, yeah. That's a real good way to do it. You just say, look, when I fill up this tub, I'm taking it in. That's a great way to manage it. I kind of do the same thing. Every week I want to take in some sort of aluminum, and whatever happens, whatever bin happens to be full then is what gets taken in. And it's almost always my extruded, because I process so many heat sinks from PCs. All right. Well, good conversation on aluminum. Aluminum is going to be a really interesting metal to keep an eye on, and watch how it moves. Aluminum is going to be a really important metal moving forward as we try to go into this electrification world. Aluminum is being used more and more for insulated wire. It's lighter than steel, so they're making more and more cars and trucks and body parts out of it. And you've got aluminum for planes and things. So yeah, we're going to see a lot more aluminum in the demand cycle. And I think over the long haul, aluminum is going to slowly build back up, but I'm not expecting anything crushing with aluminum. I don't see it going crazy. It's a good industrial metal. It's necessary. It's a backbone of our recycling business and our scrapping business. So, keep on moving it. Keep it moving. Hey, Ralph, great to see you, man. All right, so let's see here. We are now ready to move on to our business discussion, our business note for the week. And this one is one of these ones that can be a little bit, I don't want to say contentious, but people get this confused a lot. First of all, there's, the big difference between doing scrapping and recycling as a professional business, a registered business in whatever country you happen to be in, however you register that company, and as a hobby. When you're doing this as a business, especially here in the United States, but most countries have some allowance for this, what are called business expenses, reasonable business expenses. The IRS language is kind of gray. It's, any reasonable business expense. And so you come into that question of what's a reasonable business expense that you can deduct in your taxes. So, clearly, if you are spending money on things like professional services, so accountants, lawyers, the people that take care of your website, those kind of things, that's a very obvious legitimate business service. If you have a website, you may also be paying for web hosting and web security. Those are also very legitimate business expenses. You also have, if you travel, your travel expenses can be deducted. So your airfare, your vehicle miles, your meals, your hotel bills, those kind of things can also be deducted. Now, how you deduct your vehicle expenses, that may be that you use in the United States, the IRS formula for whatever their current rate of reimbursement per mile of traveled is, or you use the actual costs. Again, that's up to you how you decide to account for those expenses, but those are all reasonable expenses. Where some of this can get a little bit dicey is with meals, right? Is alcohol allowed, not allowed? Is it reasonable, not reasonable? And it also depends on what kind of business you're in. So if you are in the defense industry, alcohol is not one of those things that you can deduct off of your business taxes because they don't want you, it's been shown to be it's just a problem in the defense industry. For a lot of other businesses, though, that's no problem. You take a client out to dinner, you have cocktails and wine with dinner, that's a normal business expense. Where things, get a little bit dicey is there are some people out there who believe that because they're a hobbyist, they're not a business. And so they'll try to take some of those deductions on their taxes, but they're not a business. So you can't do that if you're doing it as a hobby. You can do it if you're doing it as a business. In some places, if you pay state or local taxes, sometimes those can be taken off of your federal taxes. Sometimes if you're a business in a state, you don't have to pay sales tax on things like the goods that you buy and sell. So what you're allowed to use as deductions, whether it's from your state taxes or your federal taxes, can vary to a certain extent. And of course, the language itself, all reasonable business expenses, can get a little bit confusing for some people. The bottom line will come down to this. As a business owner, if you ever get audited by the IRS, can you show them, here was the expense, this is why it was a business-related expense? If you can clearly show that that expense related to the proper conduct of your business, then you should be fine. I have this. My CPA does a real good job when her and her team are going through my expenses, doing my taxes. If they can't immediately say to themselves, yes, that makes sense, they'll call me and they'll act like an IRS agent. And if I can explain it to them, then yeah, they're fine. And they'll say, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. You can use that. So the business expense thing, again, it all comes down to a reasonable, legitimate business expense. But the big thing is you have to be a business to do this. So if you're not a business and you're a hobbyist, I really urge you to consult with a professional tax accountant before you try to take any of those kind of things as a deduction on your taxes, because you can get yourself in hot water real fast trying to take deductions when you're not a business. Now, of course, how those deductions flow down to you depends on what kind of business you have set up. Here in the United States, you can be an LLC, you can be a partnership, you can be an incorporated Inc. And the taxes are all treated differently, whether it's S Corp or C Corp. Again, when you set up your business, I highly recommend that you talk to a tax accountant, understand the pros, the cons, the nuances of what structure you're going to use, and then make a decision on what business structure you're going to use and how you're going to be taxed by the IRS, whether S Corp or C Corp. Really, really important how you do that. So that will determine how those business expenses then affect eventually, what you're paying in your taxes, either as your business or if they flow down to you as a person because you're an LLC, how that's going to affect your personal income taxes as well. The other big thing is you got to keep your records, right? So keep your receipts, make sure that you have them either scanned and in a file somewhere that you can get at them, or keep the hard copies so that if you are ever audited, you have the receipts that say, look, here's, this is what I spent. Here's the proof that I spent this money. All right, so that's our business note. Watch out for those expenses as you're going into 2024. I like to say that you should absolutely take every legitimate business expense that you can, and don't take a single one that you're not allowed to. That's just how to stay out of trouble. All right, our next, we are diving into the stocks now. And I tell you what, we've got a lot of things to cover in the stocks because we had some special requests for stocks. And it just so happens that this week, the Value Line Investment Survey included 2 of the special requests that I've received over the last few weeks. So for those of you that are new to the channel, I use the Value Line Investment Survey as a primary source of information when I'm evaluating stocks. They do not accept any advertising. So their analysis is all numbers and independent, unbiased analysis of the numbers and what's going on with the company. And I like that. Now, they're not cheap. In fact, it was funny. It was one of the things that my CPA called me about because I had to renew my 5-year subscription to this. And she's like, wow, that's a really expensive subscription. Are you sure you didn't, get a decimal point wrong? And I said, no, it's 5 years and it's expensive. But the industries that they reviewed this week were the food processing industry, the retail wholesale food industry, the beverage industry, the tobacco industry, educational services, entertainment technology, reinsurance industry, and cybersecurity industry. And I've had two special requests, one for a tobacco industry and another one for a food company. So we're going to dive right into the two special requests here. And we have two of our favorite companies that we're going to look at in just a minute. I don't know who we might be talking about, but let's see, where am I? Oh yeah, here it is. I had to take a drink. Not sure what that one beverage company is we're going to be talking about here in just a minute. This was a special request that I received to take a look at JM Smuckers. So JM Smucker, their ticker symbol is SJM, and their yield right now is 3.4%. That's as of the 12th of January, and that is on a valid price of $126.38. Now we can see that JM Smuckers meets my qualification standard of 17 years of increasing dividends per share. We have a couple of new people here, so let me explain real quick. I have three criteria that I look at for a company that I'm going to consider investing in. They have to have increasing cash flow per share for the last 17 years, increasing earnings per share for the last 17 years, or increasing dividends per share for the last 17 years. I will allow them to have one negative year in the case of cash flow or earnings, or one flat year in the case of dividends. And I call, if they satisfy the 17 years of increasing, I call it a 0. If they have one down year or negative year, I call it a 1. So in this case, JM Smuckers is a div 0, all right, because they've had 17 years of increasing dividends per share, 0 flat years. But you can see that they are not qualified by cash flow or earnings. That's fine. They only have to be qualified in one area for me to consider investing in them. And because I am primarily a dividend investor, the dividend is what really gets my attention. So a div 0 offering 3.4% is something that I'll pay attention to. Graphically, that looks like this. You can see this nice upward trend of the dividends. And we had some choppiness here in the earnings and the cash flow. Nothing unusual about that. We see that frequently. It's actually pretty smooth earnings per share there. Now, do I own any of this? No, I used to. I owned some Smuckers at one point. I got out of it at some point a while back for some reason that I can't remember now why I did that. But it is, it's definitely one that I would be paying attention to if I was in the buying market right now instead of the selling market to get my cash flow position up. So JM Smuckers, this was requested by one of y'all over the last few weeks to take a look at it. So hopefully that satisfied your curiosity on JM Smuckers. Also, for any of the new viewers that are here this week, I am not a certified financial manager, planner. I am not an investment counselor certified in any way. This is just what I do when I'm looking at the stocks that I'm going to invest in. And I'm just sharing that with you. So, make sure you understand that I don't have any of the certificates or pieces of paper that say I can legally make recommendations. If you're going to buy any of this stuff, make sure you do your due diligence and your homework before you do that. JR Cat says he has 3 jars of strawberry in the cupboard right now. Yeah, man, I hear you. I've got the grape. Not a big strawberry jam or jelly fan, but I certainly love my grape jelly or my grape jam for my PBJs. Absolutely. Okay, so the other special request that I received a few weeks ago was for a tobacco company. So in the tobacco industry, the companies that the Value Line Investment Survey pays attention to is Altria, British American Tobacco, Philip Morris, Turning Point Brands, and Universal. Universal is qualified under our requirements as a Div 0, so 17 years of dividend per share growth. No flat years, gone up every year for the last 17 years. It's actually gone up longer than that because I've been paying attention to this company for a while. You can see that their dividend yield is actually pretty nice at 4.8%. And that's on $67.32, which is not an unreasonable share price to get into a stock, especially one that has a nice return at 4.8%. Now, Universal, formerly known as Universal Leaf Tobacco, is the largest leaf tobacco exporter importer in the world. They're engaged in the purchasing, processing, and selling of tobacco to cigarette, pipe, and cigar manufacturers. Tobacco sales consist primarily of flue-cured and burley tobaccos. Let's see, they conduct business in 30 countries, and they have 25,000 permanent and seasonal workers. So they're a big company. They're all over the world, and they're doing well with tobacco. Now, I do not invest in Universal. It's just a personal thing with me. I've had too many people that I know that either family members or friends who have died from tobacco-related cancers, and I just can't bring myself to invest money in a company that I know is making a product that is killing people. That's just me, right? That's my personal position on this. I'm not going to judge anybody that says, "Oh, I'm going to have a part of this stock." That's up to you, by all means. But for me, I'm not going to do it because I've seen the results of what tobacco can do to people. So I'm just not going to invest here. However, I am going to invest, and I do invest in Coca-Cola. And I know there are a lot of people out there right now that would say to me, "Hey, well, wait a minute, Coca-Cola can kill people too. What about obesity?" And I'm not arguing with you. If you drink way too much full on Coca-Cola, that's a lot of sugar, and it can lead to health challenges. However, that said, they also have, Coca-Cola has other low calorie and no calorie products and water products and things of that nature. They're not as bad as tobacco. The ticker symbol is KO. They're offering 3.3% on $58.93. So again, that share price really isn't that bad when you figure that, you're buying into a company with the name of Coca-Cola. So they are a Div 0. So they are qualified, 17 years of increasing dividends per share, no flat years. They're not qualified in cash flow or earnings by my criteria. Here's what that looks like graphically. You see this nice upward trend in their dividends. And, just to give you an idea, Berkshire Hathaway has Coca-Cola all over it. So Coca-Cola is just one of those companies that if you're a serious dividend investor, this is just a great company to be buying. Now, everybody knows the universal competition to Coca-Cola is Pepsi. So what are we looking at for Pepsi? Pepsi is at 3.1%. So the dividend is comparable to Coca-Cola, but that share price is quite a bit more, $169.84. Oh my God. I mean, think about that, folks. That's a lot of money. Coke, $59. Pepsi, almost $170. So, you're paying a lot more money. Now, of course, 3% of $179 share, that you're getting more back in your dividends, but boy, that's a steep buy-in there for Pepsi. However, they are qualified as a Div 0, and their cash flow and their earnings per shares very comparable to Coca-Cola. They've had 4 and 5 down years. Coca-Cola has had 6 down years. And if you look at Pepsi, these lines don't look a whole lot different than Coca-Cola. So a big difference here with Pepsi and Coca-Cola that sometimes people don't realize that Pepsi is about a lot more than just the soda. So Pepsi operates 4 major businesses: Frito-Lay, Pepsi Beverages, Quaker Foods, and Pepsi International, which is snacks and beverages. So they have brands like Rockstar Energy Drinks, Gatorade, Tropicana, the Frito-Lay stuff, which is, Doritos and Ruffles and Lay's, Walker Smiths, Sabritas. So they're into the snack foods as well as the drinks. Hey, Everyday Sellers, great to have you here. So Pepsi gives you exposure to people's junk food habits, both liquid and solid, whereas Coca-Cola is only going to give you access to people's junk food habits liquid, because Coke does not also do snack foods. So you've got some interesting options there when it comes to what some people would refer to as the sin stocks. Are you going to go with the beverages, the sodas, and the snack foods? Are you going to go with tobacco? And there's something else that I want to talk about with J.M. Smuckers. I'm leaving this to the last part of this discussion because a recent acquisition of J.R. Smuckers is the Hostess brand snacks. That means that Twinkies are now part of J.M. Smuckers. Twinkies, think about it. I mean, I might reconsider and go buy myself some J.M. Smucker stock right now because, oh my God, how can you not want to own stock in Twinkies? Oh. Patrick, welcome to the show. Man, you joined us just as we were getting into Twinkies. I tell you, the whole question of owning stocks and things like food and beverage and tobacco and such, that's a very, very personal kind of things that you have to decide for yourselves. Some people feel very strongly about not owning stocks in certain areas. Other people, they're just pure capitalists and they don't care. If they can make money on it, then that's fine for them. I'm not here to judge anybody's investment reasoning and standards. So you invest as you want to. And there's no denying that the tobacco company, Universal, offers some pretty good dividends. So there's definitely something to be had there. Now, if you have any special requests, please let me know. I will be happy to try to accommodate them as they come up, as I just did with 2 companies here today. And of course, if you are one of my patrons, so one of my Patreon members, you can also ask me if I'll take a deeper dive into something or go into more detail. Just shoot me a note and I'll be happy to send you something over with a little more detail on any of these discussions. So and remember that these cycle about twice a year through the various industries. So it'll be at least another 6 months before we get a look at these industries again. That's just the way they keep up with them. So what do you think? you all gonna buy y'all gonna buy some stock in any of these? Do you already own stock in any of these? Does Smuckers now owning Twinkies make you want to go buy some Smuckers stocks? Huh? JR Cat says he's into the Suzy Q's. Okay, yeah, I get it. I tell you, every time I think of Twinkies, though, I think of Zombieland. I love that movie. That movie just freaking cracks me up. Anyway, both the first one and the second one, they're both good movies. Woody Harrelson is freaking awesome, and I don't know if you remember, but in Zombieland, Woody Harrelson is trying to find a Twinkie. I mean, he just wants a Twinkie, and he risks his life sometimes going into grocery stores and things like that looking for Twinkies. So it just cracks me up whenever I see Twinkies in the grocery store or at the convenience store or something like that, because I'm thinking, yeah, someday Woody Harrelson's going to come blasting in here, killing zombies, looking for these Twinkies. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Bush Dog likes that movie too, huh? Yeah. I don't know. Do any of you own any of these stocks? Have you thought about buying into any of these stocks? Does this change your position on any of these stocks? It'll be it's an interesting discussion. I like I said, I own Coca-Cola. I do own stock in Coca-Cola. I used to own stock in Smuckers. I don't anymore. Right now, because I am trying to build up my cash position for my move this year, I'm not going to be buying any more stocks other than the automatic reinvestments that I do. Hey, Boats, great to have you here. Irish says he just lost power from the storm and he's not sure if he'll be back for the live. He's sitting there in the dark. Oh, well, man, that's the pits. That's not fun at all. Ralph is saying, now I feel like getting Twinkies and a cherry cola. Okay, well, let's see. Irish, I tell you what then, because I know that, a lot of people like to go to your live stream coming out of here. You always have a panel of people come up and talk. So I'm going to try to do something here that I don't normally do. And I am going to, I'm going to put, well, Irish, let me know if you want me to do this. Before I do this, let me know if you would like me to go ahead and try to keep running here for a while until you get your power back on. And if that's okay with you and you're cool with that, then what I can do is I will try to figure out how to put the link in here so that we can get the panel discussions going like we would normally do over on your channel until your power comes back up. So Irish, let me know if that's if you want me to do that until you get your power back on. So let's see. Boat says that he has a small amount of Gentex stock. Gentex, all right. I'll look and see what that. It doesn't ring a bell, but I will take a look at it. Gentex. I have a nosy off-topic question. What is the exit strategy for the move? Daniel, that's the plan. Okay, so the plan is that Shark Scrapper will relocate into the mountains of North Carolina, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. I'm planning on adding, in fact, casting and melting, pouring, casting, that kind of stuff into the mix. And I may look at a little bit of a different product mix in my recycling stream of materials. But the general plan right now is that I'm just going to relocate Shark Scrapper, up to the new location. So there will be some changes in the mix while we move, of course. Right now I post videos 3 times a week, plus my Patreon video on Thursdays. I don't know that I'm going to be able to keep that up while I'm in the process of getting the house sold and packing up the shark cage and doing the move and then getting reestablished up there. So there may be a few months in the middle of the year when my posting schedule goes way down as I get into the move and get resettled. So we're going to see how that one plays out as we get to it. So we'll see. Okay, Irish still has a storm going with no power. And who was it? Somebody was Wannabe Scrapper says that he's out in a freaking blizzard. Okay, well, that sucks, man. Blizzards are only fun if you are in a nice, warm, cozy house with a nice fire going. Oh man, it's like when I lived up on Cape Cod, and we had a few blizzards when I was up there, and I used to love them because it's beautiful, the snow and everything like that. But that's because I was in a nice warm house with a nice fire going, and it was all good. But otherwise, blizzards can be somewhat problematic. So boats, Gentex, they make auto dimming rear view mirrors for cars. I worked there for a short time after the Navy. Oh, okay, that's cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's a nice way to. Did they have a employee purchasing program thing set up? Is that why you got into that? I worked at a company one time that had employee options and bonus payments that could be in stock. So that's not an uncommon thing for some companies to do. So, so I haven't gotten up there yet, Sandra. So I don't know what the street scrapping scene is going to be up there. That's something that I'm going to have to figure out. But ideally, I would be going more business to business anyway. So I know that the street scrapping is very popular from the video perspective. People love watching my street scrapping videos. Personally, I think they just like watching an old guy sweat, and they're hoping I'm going to drop something on my foot or something like that. But I don't know if and how the street scrapping is going to carry over up in North Carolina yet. I don't know yet. Let's see. Boat says, yeah, I got him. Yeah, 20% discount as employee. Yeah, that's not an uncommon thing for businesses to do, and it's a great practice for a lot of companies to have. I mean, not only because you can get into that stock, at a discount, but it also makes the employees feel more motivated and like they're part of, because they are technically part of the company, right? When you own stock, so you're not just an employee, but you're also have an ownership position. And so it gives employees a reason to be more motivated in their work. So yeah, it's a very good thing to do. Very good thing to do. Let's see. Truck Fan 542. Have you had anything explode? If you're referring to exploding during a blizzard or a freeze up, no. I was always very fortunate that I was able to keep core temperature of the house warm enough that I never had any problems with pipes exploding or any of that kind of stuff. If you're referring to stuff exploding, just tiny little things. I mean, I had a little battery that popped on me once. On one of my videos, I made the mistake of cutting into a wire that was still connected to a charged battery. Not really an explosion, but it was a beautiful spark and got my attention. But no, I've never had anything explode in my scrapping world. Now, in my military life, oh yeah. But then again, that's what's supposed to happen in the military, right? Things are supposed to explode. So, JR Cat, that's not very nice. That is not very nice at all. Scrapping together. By the way, Bill, I don't think I said hello when you came in. We're closed down at the yard. The scale is frozen solid. Yeah, that would make it hard to weigh things, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be a real problem. And that can be tough on a scrap yard because they're not bringing stuff in, they're not moving stuff out. Well, they might be able to still move stuff out, but they can't weigh it on the way out the door, so they have to then trust whoever they're selling it to weigh it properly. So yeah, that can be a tough one on a scrap yard because your whole business shuts down. That's not good. Not good. All right. All right, Irish. So hang on here, man. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to remember how to find the link so that I can bring up, get people up here in the studio because I don't do this a lot. So now I have to figure out where is the link. Here we are. Here we are. Okay. And here we are. All right. So if I did that right, and let's see, I'm not going to ban myself. So if I did that right, there is a link. So, if you're used to coming up on the Scrapping Irish panel and you'd like to come up here and chit chat for a little bit while Irish is down hard, come on up. And Irish, if your phone has enough juice and you can come on up. It'll be great to have you here. Speaking of the devil.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Because I'm in the dark. I have no lights. I'm completely in the dark here. No lights at all. No power whatsoever. I'll give you a taste of the storm. I'll take a step outside into the storm. You can get a taste of the storm. Hold on.
Okay.
Not sure if you could hear that or not, but that was the storm.
Yeah, we heard it. We heard it, man.
Yeah, so it's knocked out all the power. Everyone's in the dark, so it's going to be a long, boring night. So it's going to be a long, boring night. So yeah, sorry to everyone, I can't go live. So you'll have to do with Shark instead, won't you? So yeah, and I was in the process of incinerating some chips and everything. Oh, it's getting really windy out now. I'm watching the trees. I don't know. I can't change my camera. Can I just show you outside from the other camera? No, that just turns it off. No, I can't change the camera to show you outside, but the trees are really swaying at the moment. So we're in a status red, they call it. So that means danger to life, not meant to go outside. So we're in the middle of that at the moment.
Well, man, hang in there.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to pop.
Time.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pop down because there's no point looking at a black screen. So someone else can pop up and you can have a chat with them, and I'll be in the chat. But I might have to go because I'll have to save my battery power on the phone in case I need it. So, guys, Sorry about the storm.
Yeah, no worries, man. Be safe. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And Everyday Solars is saying that she's got trees down from the storm over there. So wow, that's that's going to be a heck of a storm. Heck of a storm going. And let's see, Solars is saying that the storm is giving her terrible technical difficulties. Her premiere won't be ready at 9, hopefully 10. Okay, so everybody, if you are a regular for Everyday Solars 9 o'clock, it may not be up until 10. Hopefully she'll be able to get it done by then, because I certainly can understand how that gets tough. I've had that every now and then here when with hurricanes and stuff that take out the power, and that can also then take out the cable, and then you can't get stuff uploaded, and it just gets goes out of control. So everybody stand by for keep an eye out for the notice on Everyday Solars' premiere that comes out. Let's see. Yeah, I wonder how Ian is doing as well. Sometimes he pops up in here to leave a comment or two, but I haven't seen him come up. He would, whether he came up here or not, he would usually come up on Irish's stream. So I don't know. We'll see if he pops in to say hello and see if he's okay. Scrapping on the Fly was trying to help Irish with his camera. Oh well, too late now. Let's see. Yeah, that's some tough weather out there. Our weather here wasn't that bad. I mean, it's just gotten really cold, and so around here that cold weather is exacerbated because a lot of people just don't know how to deal with the cold here. But it also can wreak havoc on a lot of the plants, because a lot of the stuff that people plant around their houses are more tropical kind of plants, and so you have to go out and cover them because the hard freeze can kill them, or if it doesn't kill them, it can really give them a lot of brown edges and that kind of stuff. So it's tough here when it freezes like that, just because the places, most people around here just aren't used to it. They don't know how to deal with it. So Boats is talking about Cape Cod. So he had a buddy up with the Massachusetts State Police, and a rough career with bail jumpers. Earlier in the comments, Boats commented that he went to see his buddy up in Cape Cod, up where I used to live in Mashpee, which was really kind of interesting. Mashpee, beautiful. Cape Cod is gorgeous. It's a beautiful place, but it's weird living on Cape Cod because it's a vacation kind of spot. So I was there. I was working for an underwater robotics company, and here I am every day trying to commute to work, and then you get the vacation people that are coming in, and so Fridays and Saturdays you've got the two bridges onto the Cape get shut down with all the traffic, and then throughout the week you got people that it's like they forget how to drive or something because they're on vacation. So you really had to think about when you were traveling, if you had to fly out of Boston Logan and you had to drive from the Cape up to Boston, what day of the week you were going on, because if you were commuting up there to the airport on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday, boy, that could add a couple of hours to the commute, easy in traffic. So that can be a rough place to live during the summer. But the winters are beautiful, except a lot of the restaurants shut down. The first place that I ever lived in my life where restaurants would close during the winter because so many people would leave the Cape and the vacationers would go away. So a lot of restaurants just closed up the doors and wouldn't open again until the spring. So, Ian, we were just asking if you were going to be up. Irish has been up already. He actually came up with his phone and was telling us about the storm, so we could hear the storm. I've got a link up in the comments there, Ian, if you want to pop up and say hi and chit chat a little bit. If you have your power going, you're welcome to do that. JR Cat says he likes going to Gloucester. Yeah, there's some really pretty places up in Massachusetts. Really gorgeous place, the Four Seasons are wonderful. It's just a beautiful place. I actually, Kelly, my wife and I considered moving back up to Massachusetts instead of North Carolina. We were given some serious thought to going back up to Mass, but that would be a really expensive move, and doing what I do in Massachusetts is a little bit trickier than here or North Carolina. So we've kind of decided not to go down that road at this point. So, Daniel says the opposite here. Got so many snowbirds going down your way. It's nice and quiet. Yeah. Yep. I hear you. Man. Hello, Mr. Matthews. How are you, sir?
It's a storm, so I've had to just, slip a dressing gown on because, up north, it's not quite jumper weather. Soft earthies. That's all. Soft earthies. That's all I can call them.
Well, if I was going outside, I'd have a jacket on right now too, because it's kind of chilly around here right now.
It's I've had the fire going on here all day, so it's nice and toasty in here. Although I've had to shorten my chimney. It was getting a little bit wobbly.
Ah. Have you noticed any issues with the smoke backing up into the shed when you shorten the chimney, or you still got a good draw going?
Yeah, fantastic draw. Fantastic draw.
Okay.
I could smell the copper burning, in here. Thought, well, why it's black and it's dark, nobody's going to be out. They're not going to be looking at the sky, are they? Going, oh, where's all that black smoke coming from?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I once had a house when I lived in Tennessee, and the smoke would, every now and then you could see the smoke lapping up, from the fireplace into the house. I'm like, what's the deal here? This doesn't make any sense. And so I brought in a chimney sweep, and he advertised, chimney repairs and this kind of stuff. So I brought this guy in, and he said, yeah, that chimney's like 3 feet too short. He said, that should have never passed inspection. And, so I'm like, all right, well, what do we do? And he said, I can fix it. He said, it's easy. I'll just, I'll
make it longer.
I'll make it longer. So that's what he did. He put some scaffolding around the chimney. We brought in a load of bricks, and he raised the chimney up about 3 feet. And it's amazing what, what that does for the draw of the chimney. And we never had any trouble with it after that.
My draw's too good, actually. Whatever I put in that fire, even if I close everything down, only lasts half an hour. But look at this. I'm drinking hot water. Well, hot water with medicine.
Yeah, well, it's important to stay hydrated.
Yeah.
How are you feeling anyway?
Hey, 100% better. 100% better. I have to admit, I came out today, I had a massive coughing fit at about 1 o'clock for about 20 minutes. Then I thought I was trying to cough a lung out. And then I've been fine since then. I think, hopefully to say, that's the last of it. But now I've got another issue. You're supposed to say, what?
Well, I was giving you the, and that is look.
So I put these, last night I put these, well, you've seen them shark socks, haven't you? So
I think so. They ring a bell.
So I was coming downstairs and I was going to be watching House of Dragon with my daughter. I was late, 8 o'clock, and I stood on the top step, and my foot slipped off, and it kind of hit the next step, but slipped off and hit the next step, but my other leg stayed on top.
Oh.
It was kind of like, I don't, you know what I mean? One leg was like that, and the other leg was straight.
Uh-huh.
And it's a long time since my legs have been that wide. You know what I mean? I've torn this muscle in my leg. Oh my God. I can't even sit down on the toilet. You know what I mean? You've got to get hold of something and lower yourself down. My thigh is killing me.
Oh man.
I've not half stretched this muscle in my leg. It was like doing the splits-ish.
Yeah. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch.
It weren't quite groin. It weren't in the groin everyday solace. It was like top of my thigh.
So I had, as you know, I have 2 artificial hips. And it was probably about a month after my second hip surgery, my dog had spilled her water bowl in the kitchen. And I came walking in, wasn't paying attention, slipped on the water and did the splits. And I thought I had popped my artificial hip out of joint. Oh my God. The pain was so bad. I saw lightning bolts in my eyes. I mean, it was just that bad. I thought I was going to throw up. I was just, laying on the floor in agony for probably 20 minutes. And then when I finally was able to get hold of the phone, I called the doctor's office. I probably should have called 911, but I called the doctor's office, and they said, "Okay, can you feel your leg and your feet?" And I was, yeah. Can you move your leg and your feet? Not with your hands or your arms, but just yourself. And I said, yeah. And he said, "Okay, then let's have you come in. We'll get some X-rays, but you don't need to call 911, because you're standing up and you're able to walk around. So you haven't done anything really bad, but we'll take a look." So went in and X-rayed, and it was fine. The doctor was just freaking hilarious, though. He's like, "Yeah, that hurts like a son of a bitch, doesn't it?"
It's great getting old, isn't it?
Well, it's better than the alternative, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Anyway, I'm honoured to be live on Shark Scrapper's stream.
It doesn't happen often. It does not happen often.
And I promise I'll behave myself. Oh. No, it's been a rotten week. I'll be honest. I don't know. My wife whinging at me. Go to doctors. I'm like, oh, they're going to give me antibiotics. It's not a chest infection. It's a cold. It's not. It's viral. It's not bacterial. It'll either kill me or else I get better. But it did kill me. I'm still here.
Well, and I think when you have something like that too, you've got to ask yourself, am I going to put myself at greater risk by going to the hospital where there's a whole bunch of other sick people? Or do I just, because unless you were really, really sick, like a really bad fever, or you couldn't get out of bed, or those kind of things, I don't know that it would be worth the risk to go to the hospital.
Have you seen what Scrapping Irish has put in comments?
Let's see.
Go straight to the Undertaker. Go straight to the Undertakers. Oh, I'm banned from the Undertakers anyway. Keep taking all the handles off the coffins.
Or sifting through the ashes.
Oh,
I've always wondered, it's one of the things that I've always wondered, is that a revenue stream for funeral parlors?
I can answer that, yes, because I know someone who Not now, but years ago, used to do that. He worked for the crematorium, and it was a bit of a perk for them. I'm going back 15 years, and then it kind of tightened down. Not because of the scrap, because of the ethics, you know. But they used to take the titanium bits out and the gold teeth and stuff like that. It was nice. He said it was a nice little earner for him.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I wonder now if, like I've told my wife, when I'm gone and you toast me, make sure you ask for all the metal back, because there's a hell of a lot of it in me, so
it's not coming open. I can't afford for Shark to be for only fans.
Trust me, you'd pay for that. You'd be paying for that in visits to your shrink for the rest of your life.
If anyone does like, I can send them a video of me gardening. just send me an email. Oh my.
So Pooh's made a saying that I feel like that's robbing the dead. I get that. I get the sentiment there, but what are the dead going to do with it? I can understand that the family of the dead, could resell that for some value, but really the dead don't care.
I'd be if it was a gold wedding ring, I can see that side of it. But a hip, some gold teeth, maybe not. But it was quite common. Not too long ago, even to especially in London, where they have crypts going back, to the 16th, 17th century. Thousands of coffins underground, and people used to break in and open the coffins and take the jewelry.
Yeah.
Going back in the 1880s, whatever, And I've read tales of people doing that. As you know, do you know about? I don't know how to pronounce this. Ichor, ICHOR. Ichor.
ICH, and that is what?
It's not all bodies mummify. Some bodies become a liquid in the coffin.
Okay.
And that liquid is called ichor, ICHOR. And the report was like people are breaking open coffins and all this black liquid rushing out,
Yeah. I can remember. I remember when my grandmother passed away. My mother's family has this thing doing open casket funeral reception things, right? And so I remember, at the end of they're getting ready to close up the coffin, and my mother takes me by my hand and she says, "Come with me." We go over to the casket, and I'm helping her take off my grandmother's jewelry, and I'm like, "Mom, what are we doing?" And she said, "Well, we're not letting the funeral parlor get her jewelry, are we?"
Well, I mean, my own father used to work for an undertaker's. He used to say, "When I die, do not let that firm bury me." And he used to say, the things that they used to do, very irreverent.
Irreverent.
Yeah, I guess if that's the job, you've got an outside persona when you're doing the funeral. But I think on the daily side of it, picking up a body, it won't go in the coffin. They break an arm, they break a leg just to get it in. That goes on. I think that becomes a norm for them. I know me auntie died, and we went to the funeral many years ago, and Funeral went okay, at the cemetery, everything. We was on the way back, and my dad spotted this lady at the bus stop, all in black, and he recognised her, and she'd missed the bus, so she'd missed the service. So he said, I'll tell you. We turned around and we went back to the cemetery. And this is half an hour afterwards. And they was digging up the grave. And my dad said he weren't bothered. He said, because he'd been in the industry, and he's kind of saying, they'll have dug the grave an extra grave deep, and there'll be some pauper being buried.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
In that grave, because that grave is open on that day, and they've got somebody to bury who can't afford, a headstone, a place to go. He said, and that's the way it is, So there's lots of things folk don't actually know.
No, I unfortunately, early in my Navy career, I got a really, really nasty exposure to that. One of my sailors was killed in a motorcycle accident. And so I took him home to be buried, and his family insisted on an open casket funeral. And of course I'm sitting there. I mean, I'm a brand new ensign in the Navy. Right. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say to this family. But when I had to identify him at the morgue, this was not the kind of thing you want your family looking at. And so, I escort the coffin back to his hometown, and I meet with the funeral director, and I said, what do we tell the family? And he said, no, I got it. This is what I do for a living. Trust me, they will never know the difference. And it was amazing. The next day, when I looked at that sailor in his uniform, in the casket, I was like, you never would have known what that body had been through. And I looked at the director and I said, I don't want to know. I do not want to know.
I know, because of the topic of the conversation, everyday Solars has had to bow out. Sorry about that, Joe.
Understandable, Solars. Understandable.
Well, let's change the subject.
Let's change it anyway. Yeah, let's go talk about scrap.
Let's talk about scrap.
That was a bad place to be anyway.
I miss your stream. I've just found a miniature whiskey.
Oh, okay.
I miss your stream. Tends to be when you've got your stream going. That's when I'm doing my scrapping.
No worries.
I'm going to kind of set a monitor up in there that I can watch people whilst I'm working. So I think that's a future project for me. So anyway, where's copper? Is it going up?
I don't know. Let's see. I didn't look at copper this week, but let's put that down. And let's go over here and we were looking at aluminum today.
Is that the same as aluminium?
Aluminum.
Yeah, of course it is. Hey, well.
So let's see what copper's doing here. It's trying to climb back up again. Unfortunately, this site that I've got right now, it goes by the ton. Because the site that I was using used to do US dollars per pound, but this site is doing US dollars per ton. And I haven't figured out how to, make it automatically adjust, but it's going back up. So that's cool. It's actually been on an upward trend now since October. So overall, the overall copper's been trending up since October. That's very cool.
Ah, interesting. Pooh's mate got a very topical question for the UK in her chat. So for the people across the pond who don't know, we have Tata, or what used to be British Steel, bought out by an Indian company, Tata. have the an old-fashioned, what do they call it? Iron smelting furnace down in Port Talbot in Wales. It's an old blast furnace, coal-powered, and it turns ore into iron.
Yeah.
And they say they're losing £1 million a day running it. So
holy cow, that's a lot of pounds.
Yeah, it depends how you look at how you look at things. So they're going to close it, make thousands of people redundant, and they're going to replace it with 2 electric arc furnaces.
Okay.
It's greener, which meets the UK green commitment, but it allows them to melt shred. The blast furnace can only melt ore.
Okay. All right.
So now they're open to melting shred. So
okay.
So, you know, interesting comment from Pooh's mate saying, how's that going to affect shred prices in the UK? Well, of course, straight away, there's a bigger demand for shred. Whereas normally we export it. Now, Port Talbot, in a couple of years, will have built 2 arc furnaces that will take untold tonnage of shred. So will that put the price up, or will it drive it down because it's local?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. You know, Irish talked about that last week on his stream about how the arc furnace is more efficient, so they'll be able to use more of the scrap tin because they can get more out of it and do more with it and actually use it where they couldn't use it before. But that's a very good question, Ian. What will that do to the price? They can process more of the tin locally, so they could afford to pay you more. But is there going to be so much of a supply that they won't need to pay you anymore because they'll have plenty to put in the furnace as it is?
So everything that normally goes to the docks to go for export can now go straight to Port Talbot in Wales to be melted into iron. Notice I said melted, not smelted.
Right. Well, yeah, no, very important difference. I got to admit, I try to be careful sometimes when people leave comments in my stream or in my videos and they say smelt when they mean melt.
Yeah.
It's like I want to make sure they understand the difference, but I don't want to sound like a smartass.
To be honest, there's not many people smelt ore, is there?
No.
So
no.
You've got to use the generic term that when they say the smelting or the melting, the melting aluminium in a furnace, copper, brass, even cast iron. I don't think many people actually get ore these days and smelt it. Not the home people.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's like there's a channel that I watch, Mount Baker Mining and Minerals. And when he says he's smelting, he actually is smelting because he's smelting ore. So he's getting the gold and silver and stuff from the ore. He actually has a gold mine. So
I watched a guy, I can't tell you his name, and he actually got some copper ore and he just heated it in a fire and kept hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. And eventually he made an axe. So we had the Iron Age, Bronze Age. Well, did they have a Copper Age? I know people say there was a Stone Age, there was an Iron Age, there was a Bronze Age. Did they have a Copper Age? So at this point,
let's see real quick.
He made an axe out of what was literally a lump of rock.
So yes, the Chalcolithic or Copper Age is the transitional period between the Neolithic and the Bronze Age.
I remember that.
It's taken to begin around mid-5th millennium BC and ends with the beginning of the Bronze Age proper in the late 4th to 3rd millennium BC. There you go. There was a Copper Age.
Wow, wow. I didn't know. I didn't know that. But it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, how many people in today's society, with all the education that you get at school, everything you know about computers and everything, maths, physics, chemistry, how many would like think of taking copper and taking tin and making a different metal? It's just...
Well, you know, it is interesting to me because you see, I mean, certainly you can go to school and get a degree in metallurgy. And I imagine that's what those people think about all the time is, you know, what can I do with metal? You know, what's the next thing I can do with metal?
I think
but you're right.
all the time. What can I do with metal? What can I weigh it in for?
Well, that's a little bit different, but yeah, I always think it's pretty fascinating, you know, to think back to those early, you know, the humans back then that said, oh, look at this dirt. I wonder what's going to happen if I heat this dirt up and start pounding on it. I mean, what kind of, you know, what would motivate somebody to try to do something like that? You know, it would, you know, it's fascinating to me how we came to do that. And then how did we decide, well, if we mix this and this, you know, it had to have just purely been experimentation. You know, let's mix this and this and see what happens. Let's mix this and this and see what happens. You know,
I mean, they do say it was like people round a campfire and they picked up some stones and put it round and the heat melted them and they went, oh, look at this that's oozed out.
Uh-huh.
Who knows?
Hello, That's Right Recycling, and Bruce and Rafal. How's everybody doing? Daniel, you know what? Because I so rarely have a guest up on the panel that I really fall behind in paying attention to the chat. I do apologize for that.
That does happen, actually. You get involved with the people and you stop looking at the chat.
Electronic Scrapper brings up a good point, you know, how far steel has come. All of the different types of steel and you know, just metals in general. Think about all of the alloys that are out there and the nuance in the alloys that for different applications and purposes. It's just really amazing to me.
Well, it's things like aluminium. Yeah, it wasn't invented until, well, I'm saying invented. It's been on the planet for a long time. It wasn't been able to extract from the ores till the late 1900s, and then it became, I think it was after the First World War, they developed a method to make it economical, and it's the most abundant metal on the planet, I believe.
Yep.
Patrick Williams says, I love the sherry and keep it that way. Yeah. We'll try. We'll try.
I tell you, I've been working hard to reduce my inventory. So I might actually, depending upon what pickups I have this week, I have the possibility of doing every computer that's in the shark cage this week.
Wow.
I may actually get to having 0 PCs this week, unless, of course, you know, I get some pickups, because it's like I've got to do this balance right now of I still need to keep bringing things in and make cash flow and get income, because I still got to, you know, pay the lease and pay the utilities and those kind of things until I'm out of here. So I've got to keep stuff moving, but I don't want to keep so much stuff built up in the shark cage that I can't pack up and go within a week or two, you know, time at the end. So.
I mean, it's a good job E-Waste Mike only moved next door, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and it was for Mike, that was good. I mean, he only had to go, you know, a few houses down the block. I'm gonna I'm going 8 hours away, so that's going to be a real booger of a move.
That's going to be, you're gonna have to close your shop and then temporarily use your house if the housing association allows you to use your house for small time scrapping, and kind of right, for the transition.
Well, I technically cannot do that, even if the HOA wasn't going to give me a hard time, because my certificate, part of being a secondary metal recycler in the state, requires that I operate from a properly zoned location. So I could get in a lot of trouble if anybody was paying attention.
Yeah, and there's lots of people always paying attention. Yeah. So
Electronic Scrapper was asking you about selling your e-waste to that company you found.
Right. Well, the weather over here is very inclement at the moment, so it just needs a nice dry weekend, and I'll approach the guy. I know where they are. Not done nothing about it yet. I'll probably just take one ton bag. That doesn't mean there's a ton weight in it. Just volume wise, it's a 1 ton bag. I'll just take that and let's see what money they give me for it. And make a video out of it. They're quite happy to be a YouTube video made out of it. They want to get the name out, especially since I told them there was no one in the Northwest that does e-waste buying.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it could be like, boom, make some, get some lots of customers.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that should be interesting. So when they say it's a 1 ton bag, what would you have to fill it with for it to actually weigh a ton?
Well, it's called a 1 ton bag. It's a builder's sack, with the 4 hoops on the corner, the big white sacks.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if you fill it with sand, it will hold a ton.
Okay. All right.
Right. So they're called a 1 ton bag. Obviously, I'm filling it with e-waste. It probably only weigh 200 kilos, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the boards themselves aren't as dense as sand, and the packing isn't going to be as dense. So yeah, that makes sense.
Bruce.
Let's see, Patrick. Patrick wants to know, can I keep 10% of my copper, or you bring that stock, or is it in cash? So that 10% of the copper is actual physical copper that I keep. So the way that works, Patrick, is when I make the decision, as I'm scrapping something, if it's got, like, if I'm stripping insulated copper wire, after I get done a few hours of stripping, I will set aside about 10% of the wire that I stripped. So the copper that I got, I'll set that aside in a separate bin. And then the rest of it, the 90%, goes in the bin that I'm going to then sell at some point in the future. So that's the way I kind of manage that 10% for the future. Now, what I'm not sure of is at what point am I going to sell it? So I don't know what my sell price is at this point. And that's the weakness of what I'm doing, because I don't have a firm point that says I'm going to sell it here.
It's I'm sitting on mine at the moment. I'll be watching it. It'll be about March, I think, before the prices rise to what I want. And I did a video last year where I said I chickened out at £7 a kilogram, or 7 English pounds. What would that be? $8.50 per 2.2 pounds. Whatever, you know what I mean. Don't know. But then you start talking about, well, I'm taking 50 kilogram in. Does it really matter if it's up 10p or down 10p? I'm only going to lose £5 in English money at the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
You sit on it and then you think, I'm going to weigh it in. Oh, prices dropped by 10p. Well, you've lost £5. Well, you've lost £5. Oh, you could have gained £5 if you'd have weighed it in the week before, but it's a higher price because you're weighing it in. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I know it does get a bit challenging, and for the average person that does this, the numbers don't make that big of a difference.
They don't.
You know, if you're a scrapyard and you're filling railroad cars full of material, then it can make a significant difference. You know, truckloads of material, that can make a significant difference. But for most of us, it's not making that big a difference.
Yeah,
and
even if it's 100 kilograms, it drops 10p. You're losing £10. You know,
I could spend that going to McDonald's.
But the thing is, I'm only going to weigh it in because the price is high anyway. 5 years ago, you know, you'd be happy to take £3.50 a kilogram any day. £4, wow, you've done well. And it went up to £7. And now it's like, I'm sitting on it until it hits the high prices again. Yeah. Ralph Murex got, you know, the right. Sometimes space is worth more than money, you know.
So let's see here if I can do this right. You know, here is 10 years of copper prices. So, you know, if you were scrapping back here 10 years ago, you'd be saying, oh, geez, I got to sell this stuff. The price is dropping. You know, but then if you got into the market down here, you'd be like, oh, I'm not selling. I'm holding. The price is going up. And, you know, it's like you get all these, you know, at what point do you make the decision to sell when prices are doing this kind of stuff?
The point you're happy with. That's it,
yeah.
Isn't it? The point you're happy with.
Yeah.
You know, every time I go to the anvil yard, there's guys there every day. They're not interested in what the price is. They've picked it up, they brought it in. They'll be there tomorrow with another load, and the day after, and the day after, and the week after. You know, so they're just turning it over.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I was at one of my yards this last week, and they had a new guy in the buyback lane. And so between me trying to teach him what the various boards were, and then him trying to figure out how to use his computer system to enter in the information, that took about 40 minutes. What should have been 10 minutes tops took 40 minutes. Then I get over to the cashier's desk. And who's the lady that gives you your cash? What's her name?
Ella.
So, you know, my equivalent of Ella, who I know really well, you know, so I go over and she's looking all glum and I'm like, hey, what's going on? You're looking kind of down in the dumps. She says, you're going to find out in a minute. So she gives me the pay stub and I go over to, because they give you the piece of paper with a code on it. And then you go over to an ATM and you put in the number and it spits out the cash.
I've seen Marty do that from.
Yeah, well, I put in the number and it just kept cycling and cycling and cycling and cycling. And then from behind the bulletproof glass, I hear this string of cussing going on. And I said, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. You should have told me not what to do. So then we sat there for probably another 45 minutes while they tried to fix the ATM. And, you know, there were some people that were coming in that were getting really angry because some of these people, you know, they've got to make 3 runs in the day, 4 runs in the day with shred, you know, whatever they're finding on the street, or they're not going to have dinner tonight, you know, that kind of stuff. And so there were some of these people that were just like really getting, you know, upset that the ATM was down. You know, and I'm like, hey, when it's fixed, you know, go ahead, go to the head of the line. I don't care. I'm easy. You know, it's, you know, but oh my God, that was just a mess.
Oh, e-waste Jill saying, thought I would have a smoking jacket. Something I've not done since I was about 10 years old, smoke. It's not for me, smoking.
You smoked when you were 10 years old?
Well, bit. I grew up in a bit of a rough area, you know, and
okay.
all our kids were out. We're all in the fields playing. One kid, his dad, his dad, he lived in a pub, so he used to pinch cigarettes and matches, and we'd all go behind on a hill and we'd all smoke. Oh, I thought I was smoking. I used to like, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then this lad said, "That's not smoking." I said, "What's smoking?" He said, "You go like this."
Yeah.
I did it. I felt I was having a heart attack, so he just stabbed me in my lungs with a knife. The pain was terrible. I'm like, what? Fucking threw the cigarette and I'll never want another one in my life again. No, breathing in cigarette smoke is painful.
Oh yeah.
It was like
sounds very similar to my first experience with a cigarette. You know, I don't remember how old I was, but you know, I was a youngster, you know, similar to your age. And one of my buddies says, "Yeah, here, take this. You take this, and then you inhale it. You know, like you're taking a deep breath." I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." You know, so I'm like, by the time I woke up after throwing up and gagging, I was like, "Holy, what the hell do people do this for?" And I never touched a cigarette again in my life.
No, I've posed with cigars, but I've never inhaled since.
Yeah, well, so when I was in the Navy, we had certain traditions that would almost demand that you had a cigar, but you didn't inhale a cigar. You puffed on a cigar. You know, and so what I did was I would get expensive cigars so that I couldn't afford to build up a habit of puffing on cigars.
Yes, it's and it's shocking today, the price in the UK for a packet of cigarettes. I think it's bordering on 15 English pounds for a packet of cigarettes. So
yeah,
$20 possibly for a pack of 10 cigarettes.
Just insane. I don't know how some of these people can afford to keep smoking, right? I mean, I see some of these people at the scrapyard. They're some of the same people that, you know, they've got to get 3 or 4 loads in during the day, you know, or they're not going to have dinner that night or something, like, you know, and yet they're puffing away on a cigarette. Or I'll be at the shred pile and one of the guys that, you know, that's monitoring the shred pile, one of the workers, is sitting there puffing away on a cigarette and complaining about how he doesn't make enough money.
Yeah. It's like, I'll be honest, I don't see many people smoking cigarettes these days. Everyone is smoking roll-ups. You know, so
roll-ups?
People are buying tobacco and making their own cigarettes. So
okay. All right. Yeah.
Make, like tiny. But of course, here in the UK, every year people go away to the EU, Spain, etc., Portugal, EU countries, and you can buy tobacco over there quite cheap. So you can buy a pouch of tobacco for £8, bring it back over here and sell it for £16. So you've doubled your money, and whoever's buying it has saved also a third of the money. Instead of paying £16, they would have paid £24 for it. No, but
one of the robotics companies that I worked for, we sold a lot of our underwater systems to the Royal Navy, and I was out on one of my first meetings, one of my first field demo, things with Royal Navy guys, and the guy takes me aside and he's like, I have to talk to you about the shipping containers. I'm like, okay. And so the system would ship in 2 containers. One held the vehicle, the other one had foam with inserts cut out for the different pieces of equipment. Mm-hmm. And he said, these circular cutouts, you need to change them to this dimension. And he gave me this circular dimension. And these square ones, you need to change them to these dimensions. And I said, well, I don't understand. Is the equipment or the buoys and the hardware and the pack, are they not fitting in there properly? And he looks at me and he says, oh, they fit just fine. But when I go over to Spain and I'm getting booze and cigarettes, they don't fit. So they were taking the kit and they were pulling out the electronic parts and shipping those back in cardboard boxes. And they were filling the shipping containers that were, because they were military stuff, they weren't inspected by the customs people, and they were putting booze and cigarettes in those containers to ship them back.
Well, there's a will, there's a way. Oh,
I just thought that was just freaking hilarious.
All good things come to an end, I guess.
Yeah, I am so grateful that my buddy, when I was a youngster, that the way he introduced me to cigarettes, because I had never had any motivation to smoke ever again. And other than, the random traditional cigar that we would have in the Navy, I never smoked. And so, I can't imagine how many years that has extended my life because I have not done that. But I feel bad for people that picked up that habit in their youth. And
how many years I've shortened my life by breathing in, by going into scrapping. Aluminium dust, grinding dust, asbestos, whatever. I'm looking at JR Cat. She did polo t-shirts and Reebok shoes with the military. There's a method in there. There's always an angle on something.
I noticed I was reading some articles recently where they are getting ready to outlaw AFFF, aqueous film forming foam, as a fiery, an agent to put out fuel fires, liquid fires. And because it contains PFAS, or forever chemicals that can cause cancer. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, the number of times that I was covered in that crap, either in training or actual fires. And now fortunately for me, it wasn't like I was a fireman, and so I was constantly exposed to that stuff. But there were times when I was literally covered in AFFF.
And ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, no idea at that time that was, that was bad for us.
Makes me remember all the years ago when I used to break up those pink and white ends off microwave. I used to smash them open. And one day I read this can kill you long term. Like, oh well, I'm still here. Just.
Yeah, borreliosis is a really weird disease, right? I mean, because it's one of those things that if it gets you, you're toast.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get everybody, But if you cross the magic number of inhaled atoms or whatever it is, then you're done. It's one of those weird ones, and to me, those kind of things just aren't worth the risk.
No, my biggest fear, I was as a youngster, I was only kind of like 16, 17. And I used to work for this scrapyard on a weekend, and we had a contract. We had a contract with a baker's in the next city to take apart the boilers. And I do remember with a shovel hacking off the asbestos, and we went and bought some dust masks. I'm about, you know what I mean, type of dust mask, a paper mask like this. Stick that on. And I remember doing it, and we were laughing at each other because there was fingers, like you grew a beard of this white asbestos growing off the mask. And I know now, 45 years later, thinking, I've got to breathe some of that in. And the thing about asbestos is, it lies there dormant until it decides, right, okay, I'm active. Finally, I've made 65. I've only got 10 years left anyway. Doesn't matter, does it?
My dad used to say that about turning 90 because he had 3 of his 5 siblings or something like that. They all died, right after they passed 90. And so he kept telling me when he was approaching his 90th birthday that, this is probably my last year. This is probably my last year. He's 93 years old now, and he still works full time as an engineer for the state of Maryland. So, sometimes that whatever that genetic code is doesn't always fire off at the right time, Ian.
You're right. I mean, the guy who's my best mate, the scrapyard I used to work for, the scrapyard owner, Albert, he lived till he was 96. I can imagine what he's done all these years in the scrapyard before any kind of regulations. I know some of the things that I used to do, burning lead wire and stuff like that. But he ended up being, although very mental acuity, his body weren't right. So he'd be brought down, and he'd put it in a chair watching the telly, and he'd be fed, and then at a certain time he'd be picked up and taken to bed.
Oh my God, I couldn't live that way.
Day after day. All right, now he had it up there. He was very, very mental. He could talk. He lived his life through his great grandchildren. It was a humongous family, and people were coming every day and visiting, and that what kept him going. But I'm thinking, I don't want to be brought down every day, put in a chair, watching telly, and taken up and put in bed, and day after brought him down again and watching telly. No,
I'd rather just go out in my shed and scrap stuff all day.
I want to take that and a scrap of light, bury me. And there endeth Ian in his shed. Well,
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's one thing to, when businesses were younger, when we were younger, and people didn't know any better. Where I get frustrated is, when people know better and they still do the stuff that is known to be dangerous to them. It's like, it's, again, I'm not judging anybody, it's, well, maybe I am, but, it's just, it's like, I can, like, people back during World War II, everybody smoked, right? Everybody smoked during World War II. They didn't realize that it was killing them. In fact, the military would issue cigarettes to soldiers because it helped them stay alert and awake and everything else, right? And now we know that that's not a good thing.
Well, when I was actually joining the Navy, I was going to be an engineering artificer, signing up for 20 years. I filled in the paperwork and everything, and it was like, "Do you smoke?" And I'm like, "No, but my dad does." So 200 cigs a week. I'll sign up for them, but I'll send them to me dad.
So they would actually pay you in cigarettes, huh?
They did. They give you an allowance of 200 cigs a week. They stopped it eventually, like they stopped the rum ration as well. But unfortunately, things changed. And
yeah, I thought the Royal Navy was still had alcohol on board.
They do.
Okay.
I don't think they have the rum ration anymore.
Yeah, all right.
I think it's 2 beers a day, I believe. It says she smokes.
Yeah, she was commenting about what motivated her to give up earlier and stuff. So, when I was in the Navy, we always used to fight over who was going to get assigned to be the liaison officer with the Canadians when they would come down and do exercises with us, because like the Royal Navy, the Canadian Navy still had alcohol on board.
I've heard some tales of the interchange. What could have been? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? So yeah, I this week I was cranking through stuff at the shark cage, and I was just busting through PCs this week. It was one of these weird weeks where I didn't have a lot of pickups, and I could just concentrate on breaking stuff down. And I made a lot of good progress getting PCs broken down. But it caused me to take a step back and say, all right, now at some point, I'm just going to have to say, okay, I'm done. I'm not bringing anything else in, and I'm going to get all this inventory scrapped out and out of here so that I'm not moving as much weight when I relocate. And then I got to go through and make a decision what's going to get sold and what's going to get moved. In things like, I've got this great big deck scale, 3 feet by 3 feet, a meter by a meter. It can weigh up to 5,000 pounds. Am I going to take that with me? I mean, the thing weighs a lot. And maybe the answer is I sell that and buy another one when I get up there. I don't know which way to go with some of that stuff. I'm going to have to make some hard decisions.
See, I've got the 433 PC. I think do I try and sell that as something as retro? Do I try and boot it up, first of all, find an old monitor, boot it up, or do I break it up? That's sitting there, it's taking up a little bit of space. I don't really want to break it up because you're not finding 433 Hertz PCs very often, are you? Well, you might.
Isn't that what you're broadcasting on right now?
There's a 233 Pentium with valves. I mean, I spent this week mostly tidying up and consolidating things and saying, there are things like you won't have watched my video, but I had up there a big wooden tray full of automotive bulbs. I've had it 20 odd years. I needed a bulb to fix my car. I pulled it down. I looked at it. I thought, you don't need this anymore. They're not even the same kind of bulbs that go in cars anymore. So I broke the tray up and I burnt it. All I've got now is a little box full of some bulbs that might come in handy someday. Well, I don't have this great big 2 foot wide tray of bulbs that might come in handy someday. So I'm working on it. But I've got 2 things here. Kind of like an on-off switch,
Yeah.
The for 3-phase. Well, they work for 3-phase. They should work for single phase, shouldn't they? If you just stick it on one wire, it'll act as a switch. And you're thinking, I'll keep that. I'll come in handy one day. And you're thinking, when are you ever going to use an on-off switch like that that's meant for 3-phase that you're going to convert to use for single phase when you could break it open and take out the copper and the brass and the silver contacts? So I kept 2 of them.
Okay, well, there you go.
You know, that's what happens. They don't take a lot of space. But when you've got 1,000 of those little things, they take up a lot of space.
Yep. I hear you, man. I have been working very hard to not fall in love with my scrap.
Yeah, I fall in love with it. I do, honestly. I take something apart and I go, oh, just look at that. I can convert that. As Rafael Scrapper says, that would be a great switch for the milling machine when I uncover it. You know. Have you ever had, Truck Fan 542, have you ever had something radioactive in the scrap? Well, I've never had anything glow in the dark. But I have broken up smoke detectors and things. So pretty sure.
So I was looking at a device. I was picking up some stuff that I bought at a government auction, and so I was at the warehouse, and the guy there, you know, he knows that I come bid on things regularly, and he says, "Hey, this is going to go on the auction next week. You may want to take a look at it." And it was one of the scanning machines from the airport. And there's these stickers all over the cabinets, you know, radiation source, do not open, radiation source, you know, this kind of stuff. And I looked at him and I said, have they removed the radiation source? And did anybody test this to make sure that there's nothing in here that's still radioactive? And he looked at me and he said, that's a good question. I said, yeah, okay, I'm not going to bid on that one.
So you took me back to high school then when we were doing physics and chemistry. And they used to bring out this isotope box, you know, lead lined and everything, and bring it out and test it on the, you know, like that smoke-filled vase that showed the rays of isotopes coming off. Can't remember the names of them these days. And we used to say, like, you know, how dangerous is this? And the teacher used to say, well, I reckon if you put it on your hand and you left it for a year, you might get a tumor. You know, very low radiation. But who knows what's in these things that were breaking apart? You know.
So Truck Fan points out that they were electric radiation generators, no actual source in there. And, you know, I mean, I wish I, you know, it's one of those things where I suppose I could have taken the time to research the device and I would have been, oh, okay, I got it. But it's like, sometimes it's just not worth taking the risk. And but the thing that cracked me up was the guy at the scrap facility there had no idea, you know, and I would have thought that he would have been one of the first people to ask the question because he's going to be, he's around it the whole time it's in the warehouse. Now, of course, 25 years in the Navy, I can neither confirm nor deny that I was in the presence of nuclear weapons at any point during that 25 years.
I'm just thinking about something my son did. My son was in the army, he was in the engineers, and at one point he got called out to go to the special forces camp. place. Hereford, you know, the SAS in Hereford.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he goes down there and he's an engineer. So it's basically they store nuclear missiles, nuclear bombs there, and one of them was leaking. So they've called the engineers down and said that missile's leaking in that chamber.
Leaking what?
Who knows? It was like, you deal with it, you know. But it was great. I mean, it was like the special forces guys were fantastic with him. You know, they were teaching him all sorts. He said, I was a bit at a loose end, and they taught me how to lockpick. You know, he said, but basically we went in and we had to remove the concrete floor to a depth of about so much and relay a concrete floor. I said, whatever happened to the missile, I don't know. Our job was to just replace the flooring. You know, but these things, you know, a leaking nuclear bomb, you know.
Yeah, I can tell you that it wouldn't be leaking nuclear material.
No, it would be leak. I don't know. Well, I was reading only a couple of days ago about Russia, and they've been taking the fuel out of the missiles to actually cook food with.
Yeah.
Actually cutting chunks of the missile fuel out and using it as a hex block, you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow. You know, it's like, if there's a way, there's a need, isn't there? He needs a nuclear battery. Oh, I've been looking at that nuclear battery. It's being now advertised on YouTube everywhere. 50-year nuclear battery.
So e-waste chill, my the yard that one of the yards I go to, they have nuclear detectors as well, because you know, they've had trouble with some stuff coming in that they couldn't sell then, and they had to pay to have it removed. So yeah, that's actually pretty at the larger yards, they're doing that. What I find interesting is I have two other yards that, you know, also buy material and don't have nuclear detectors. And it's like, so the people that have stuff that they know is dirty, they just go to the yards that don't have the detectors, I guess.
There's lots of places.
You know, during World War II, it was not uncommon for sailors to take the fuel from the torpedoes, because it was basically alcohol. And they used to call it torpedo juice. So ethanol, yeah, ethanol. Pardon me?
Was it ethanol? Ethanol.
It didn't kill you or make you go blind. So now, of course, the fuel that goes in torpedoes is really nasty. I mean, really nasty. So you wouldn't touch it anymore. But, you know, and what was it also? I read that in China, they fired a bunch of the military folks because they were filling the missiles with water instead of fuel.
And selling the fuel as fuel.
I guess. I don't know. It's like, man, I tell you, you know, you think to yourself, it's like, I guess, you know, there's that maybe that you know, as having been a part of the military for as long as I have, you know, that there's people out there that are doing stuff like this. And if you don't have the right safety processes and protocols and security, you know, then it could get really bad. And I guess it's just rampant in militaries like China and Russia, where, you know, they don't necessarily have the oversight that some of the other militaries would have. I mean, it's here, at least in the US, you know, you might have the soldier that would sell the occasional bullet or smoke grenade or something like that, thinking they're going to get away with something, but they eventually get caught. You know, our security services, our military police, or criminal investigative services, they eventually get these people. before it gets out of hand. But selling the rocket fuel and filling the rockets up with water, that's yeah.
And this goes on to the whole Ukraine-Russian war, the Russian war machine, which everyone was so scared about. And all that's happened is, in my opinion, because I don't really know that much about it, it's turned into a global arms affair. So the French are saying, hey, look at our anti-tank missile. Works well against the, Russian T-90s, and the Russian and the English and the French and the Germans and the Americans. They're all sending Ukraine our equipment to say, this is how it works in the field against the Eastern Bloc technology,
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly a certain amount of that going on, and in some cases, like the weapon systems that the U.S. is sending over there are not our top of the line stuff.
Oh.
They're like our first gen Abrams tanks and things of that nature, because there's also a certain amount of, you want to make sure that the newest stuff doesn't accidentally end up in the enemy's hands.
Correct.
And that every time the Ukrainians capture one of the newest Russian tanks or something like that,
it's straight over.
Oh yeah, people are just lining up to buy that to take it apart. So yeah, it's unfortunate that's what happens with war, but that's what war is, right? War is just a way to waste money and kill a lot of people. It's terribly, terribly unfortunate that it devolves into that. It's so unfortunate. I hate to see it. I mean, it's like
it is. It's. One would have thought since 1945 that the boundaries had been set and they're not going to change. And it comes as shock, 180 years later, to say that, wow, tell you what, we want that land back. We want this back.
Yeah.
But, how far do you go back? You go back to the Romans, go back to the Mongols. I think the Mongols were after the Romans, weren't they? And then it's all about expansionism, isn't it? And then it was about trade, wasn't it? If you go back to the Mongol, it's all about capturing the trade routes. Then it became all about commodities, oil, gold, silver.
Yeah, resources. Yeah.
Resources, which is still what it is at the moment. It's everyone's fighting over now the Arctic, because you can claim the bit of the Arctic, you can claim 200 miles of coastland around it, untold exploration possibilities. Wow, what a world we live in.
Well, and I don't mean for this to sound, tinfoil hat time, but it's probably going to continue that way until an alien species from another planet threatens our very human existence. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll decide that our petty little battles here on this planet are insignificant, and we need to get our act together and cooperate.
Well, not that I believe in the flat Earth society. Yeah, well, I would say if any alien was to visit the Earth, they've not come those stupendous distances just to say hello. They might like the founding fathers, they've gone to settle somewhere, you know.
You would think so, yes.
Truck fan says, look out for the train.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I was watching on YouTube today. I have to laugh, you know, and it was a flat earther, and he was using a globe to prove, right? He's got an airplane, and he's setting off from the North Pole, and he's flying to the South Pole, and he's saying, as you're going along, your nose is pointing down all the time. He said, when you get to the Antarctic, your plane's upside down. And I'm like, what? He says,
you just got to wonder sometimes, don't you? Yeah. Daniel, I'm afraid you're right, my friend. I am afraid you are right.
we're not that
evolved. So much that we have to still have a lot of evolving that we need to do.
We're not that as evolved as you think we are. I mean, what have we done in the last 80 years? You know, it's tremendous. The last 100 years, you know, and where has that come from?
So I have a theory. I believe that there are actually aliens on the planet, and every now and then they take someone aside and they impart a little bit of knowledge into them. Yeah, you know, like Einstein and Tesla, you know, and these folks, and that keeps the human race progressing. But then again, that also makes for a good sci-fi novel. So
I like reading about these people, you know, and I look at people like Watts. You read about these people, and they grew up, they couldn't read and write, and they self-taught themselves to read and write. Then the next thing you know, by the age of 20, having self-taught themselves to read and write, they're inventing Ohm's law. They're developing theories of electricity, electronics. And you're like, you couldn't read and write bloody 10 years ago. There's got to be something in what you say, Sharp. There really has.
Well, you know, I tell you, I mean, some of the smartest people I know never graduated from high school. And, you know, I do not believe that there's a correlation between having a college degree and being an intelligent person. No. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a college degree, you know, and frequently that's a way that you can enhance your intelligence and, you know, jumpstart ahead to understanding things is through those college degrees. But just having a piece of paper from a college doesn't make you an intelligent person.
That, sadly, a bit of a honest something here is my downfall. You know, I was growing up, and no one stayed on at school. You left school and you got an apprenticeship, you know, or you went down the mine, or you went into the mills. And my mum was like, "Oh no, you're staying on. You're going to college." Even probably, I didn't really want to. I didn't have much choice, you know, but you did. But that led to a false sense of, hey, I've stayed on at school. I've got this qualification. I'm wonderful. It didn't work out like that. People didn't think I was wonderful just because I'd stayed on at school.
Yeah, if you haven't done anything with it, there's no reason, you know, you've not accomplished anything. In fact, you've just wasted your time.
Yeah.
You know, now there are some people that go to college they're they're very smart people anyway. They go to college and they take that knowledge and they do great things with it.
They know what to do with that knowledge.
Yes. Yeah. So now the flip side of that, and one of the things that I get very frustrated with is that there are people, and this is going to sound terrible and I don't mean it to, but there's also a lot of people that they never made it out of high school, and they didn't make it out of high school for a reason. But they think they're a lot smarter than what they are. And they won't listen to folks that are, really smart, whether they went to college or not. And so that gets me very frustrated too, because it's like, I will be the first one to listen to an electrician and a plumber and an HVAC guy and, these people that are tradesmen that may not have a college degree, because they're freaking experts at what they're doing. And they understand it, and they're working it every day, right? Now, I have a college degree that tells me that I understand the refrigeration cycle, but am I going to install an HVAC system in my house? No, it's not going to happen.
The guy there in comments saying truck fan 542. Does either Shirk or Ian own any physical precious metals? Well, define precious. Copper's precious. And yes, I own copper. Do I own gold? No. Silver? No. Platinum? No. On a ring. I've got a gold ring.
So yes, I do. I have a few pieces of gold that are mostly just because I've always wanted to own a gold Britannia and a gold eagle. So I saved up some money and I bought one, because I just think they're pretty. They're and I own silver. I used to buy physical silver back when the prices were very low. So I do have a certain amount of physical silver in rounds and bars and things of that nature.
I had a gold Rolex once, but I gave it away.
In fact, here's a roll of silver coins right here.
Actually, I do. I have a family heirloom. Not my granddad. My great granddad bought a silver pocket watch, a chronometer, and it comes on a massive silver chain. So the old guys used to put it in the top pocket, and a big chain come down.
Yep.
To fit in there. And that's the family heirloom. I have got the receipt for it as well. What he paid for it. 18.
Oh, that's cool.
1880 something. But value, at the end of the day, it's just silver, isn't it? It's got an intrinsic value being a watch with a receipt. It's not something I would sell because it's an heirloom. But no, that's the only precious metal I own apart from my wedding ring, which is gold. Yeah.
Most of the gold that I buy adorns my wife.
I absolutely hate buying diamonds. I think diamonds are worthless. Diamonds are only useful to glass cutters and abrasive makers. A diamond is useless apart from those two facts. Oh, look at it, isn't it pretty? Why? What are you going to do with it? You stick it on your finger.
Now I love buying my wife pretty gemstones. So opals and, rubies and things that have some character to them.
I do the same. I buy tanzanite, opal, opal, citrine, stuff like that. No, they're not gemstones. Crystals. Am I right?
Well, they're semi-precious gemstones, and I'm fortunate because my wife loves those things. She's not one of these ladies that says, "Well, if it's not a diamond, I don't want to wear it." She loves the beautiful stuff as well. So,
hi guys.
Here, wait a minute.
We're just talking about you.
Oh no, what did he say now?
Well, he says you've got more rings than you've got fingers.
And that's absolutely true. I've got more rings than I've got fingers and toes, and the lady across the street, I got more than that. So
He says he loves you every minute of the day because of it.
I know if he would just take me somewhere where I could, dress up and show that stuff off. But no, I go to the gym. You can't wear them at the gym. So
I'm sure he doesn't take you anywhere.
no.
He doesn't even take you to the scrapyard with him.
I would rather eat dirt.
Because if he did, you could help him unload. Saves you going to the gym.
I don't know. I kind of like the gym. There's some good-looking guys there. Hi. Come on, Lou. Come.
Oh. She's got a sense of humor. Got a sense of humor.
She definitely keeps me on my toes.
Anyway, it's 25 to 10 in the evening.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. I just kept the stream going so that folks that would have normally joined us over in Ireland had a chance to chat and stuff. So I think that we have done well for Irish and kept things alive for them today.
Well, I appreciate you letting me up. He did warn me once you would never let me up because I would debase your show. I behave.
Well, Mike is still down in the basement. No, I'm joking. Mike is not down in the basement. He decided not to come up.
He should have done. I like our chats. It's YouTube is very, I'm going to say, there's a nice side to it and there's a dark side to it. There's a vicious side to it as well, but I think the scrapping community is a nice side, and it's we can all come together. We know everybody in that chat.
Yeah.
And there's no drama. That's it. There's no drama in the scrapping community.
It's a lot of fun. We all have a good time talking about stuff, and and I like the fact that we can have some differences of opinions in how to proceed with something, but we can have a good conversation about it. So and I'm not quite sure where Poos is going here with this. So.
I think it's because on the level of decency, I'm probably a little underneath.
Well, now I could understand if she was talking about Mike. I mean, because if Mike isn't cutting you down, then he doesn't love you. So the only way you know that Mike loves you is when he's tearing into you. So
I like Mike. Daniel says, without you guys, you wouldn't have any friends.
Well, I tell you, I do enjoy the fact that people from around the globe can come together and have fun for an hour or two and, share some thoughts and have some jokes and yuck it up. I mean, where else other than, well, I would say where else other than social media, but, YouTube is really good in that, here we've got folks from around Europe and the US. And at one point this evening, we even had somebody from New Zealand, and we're chit-chatting and we're sharing, and, it just makes the world a smaller, nicer place when we do that.
The only other group similar is the Small Engine Nation. So I don't know if you probably don't know these people, you know, but Bruce Napier's pops in there a lot. They do like small engines, lawnmowers, etc., etc.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a big community, and it's very similar to the scrapping community. There's a lot of crossover, and they're the same. They're a great group of people who just come together and they chat, you know, mainly about how to fix small engines. You know, I go in because I want to know how to take them apart.
You know, I lurk on some of those channels sometimes for that reason. You know, listen to them talk about fixing engines gives me a better idea of, do I want to, you know, do I want to take them apart? Is it worth the time? That kind of stuff. So, yep.
So, I mean, I've not seen Dan from K&D Scrapping in chat, and I did a video earlier. I did a video last night, and then my phone didn't have enough time to put it up, so I had to do it this morning, put it up, and it was like I'd taken a George Foreman, a heating grill apart, and it's like, how do you take that heating element out of that cast aluminium? And I was saying, like, this is the way I do it, and there's got to be an easier way. I put it up. Dan sent me a link to his video where he shows an easier way of doing it. And that's it. You know, I don't know everything. I've been scrapping for a long time. Just because I do it my way doesn't mean it's the easiest way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some people have found some really cool tricks to,
I was
how to take things apart. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gobsmacked when I once watched Murty from Scrap Kingdom, Steel Scrap Kingdom, and he took this transformer and he put it on his bench and hit the end of it with an hammer, and the end fell off. I'm like, I've been cutting them off with an angle grind, and you just hit them with an hammer and they fall off. We learn from each other, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Electronic Scrapper wants more information on that small engine group.
Right. Ken. Right. I'll try and put a link onto your channel, the Electronic Scrapper. They're a great group. They're a massive group. And Ken, I can't remember his name. Ken usually hosts a live stream like us. And he usually has about 8. They got people like the lawnmower lady and the lawnmower detective. Bruce Napier goes on as well.
Isn't that just Ken Small Engines or something like that?
Yeah, Ken Small Engines. You know, and Mick Mowers and quite a few others.
Yeah.
It's we cross over, don't we? You know.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I came across went to a place. He said, "Hey, I've got 2 lawnmowers. One was an electric lawnmower. One was a petrol lawnmower." I said, "What's up with the petrol lawnmower?" He said, "Nothing." He said, "I've just gone over to a battery one." So I phoned Rob, Small Engine Repairs. He only lives about 7 miles from me. I said, "I've got this mower. I don't want to break it up because it's working. You know, it's a petrol mower, 7 horsepower, whatever. You know, not 7 horsepower. You know, Ryobi thing." I said, "You're welcome to have it. You know, what scrap value to me? It's 2 or 3 quid." He said he could tart it up, get £150 for it. So, well, you're welcome. You know, you're welcome to have it.
All right, yeah. Irish. Well, we're glad you're surviving the storm, and hopefully we'll hear from you during the week that you are still alive once it passes.
It's quite quiet here at the moment. We've had it. I've had the wind battering at the windows and the rain battering at the windows. That's gone. So, having said that, there's a little bit of the shed roof just went up a little bit then.
Hey, wait a minute. It wasn't that long ago when you replaced the shed roof.
It's well screwed down. And there's a lot of scrap on. There is actually a lot of scrap on top of the roof as well. That'll keep me down.
Okay. I remember that series of videos when you were replacing the roof and you're crawling around. For a while, you had plastic up there, and yeah.
I couldn't do something like that again. No, it's I don't know. I hate to say I've got old. I really hate to say that. In my head, I'm still 10, but I mean, I can't do the things I used to be able to do. And,
yeah, I know. I hear you.
And I do know guys older than me put me to shame, the stuff they do. I think, where have you got that energy? Where have you got that drive? Well, I've got the drive. I want to do it. I just can't.
Yeah, it's a tough one sometimes keeping up with it. I keep at it because I'm afraid that if I start to slow down, I won't get going again.
I was ill, I can't deny it. And, I've had that cough since Boxing Day. And they got to a point where I sat in the house all day, sitting on the settee, just catching up on YouTube, watching mindless drivel, not TikTok, but this and that. And I got to a point, I said, I can't do it. I have to go eat shed. I have to do something. I'm not built for sitting on a settee watching telly. Can't do it. I was just looking at Irish's comment. They're saying that their power is going to be out until about 6 p.m. tomorrow. We have down, especially here on the eastern seaboard of the United States, we deal with so many storms in the way of hurricanes and others, just severe weather. The utility companies have a really good program now where they share trucks and people and equipment. And so they will pre-stage trucks and people and equipment ahead of the weather. And then like when a hurricane comes through, and then they can descend on that place as soon as the all clear is sounded and try to get power back up as quickly as possible. So in a lot of cases, our power is back up really fast after a storm. Yeah, but we're talking about.
We've also, in a lot of communities, we've started putting the utilities underground because, where it makes economic sense and the geography allows it and stuff like that, because, of course, that's some of the best protection that you can have. We're
talking about Ireland here, and especially where, Irish lives. It's not really it's the donkeys that have been knocked out. They've been knocked out. Once you get the donkeys up and start running around that little track again, with that back, generating the electricity, with a carrot in front of them, they were back up and running.
Oh, that's funny.
Sorry, Irish.
All right. Well, look, I'm going to get going, everybody. Ian, I'm glad you came up. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad you're feeling better. So have an awesome week. And you know what? You're going to have to say it. You're the only one up here who can say it.
Scrap you later. Thank you very much for